Today, we're visiting a small town known for coal mining and a few other things. This town was booming around the 1930s, but has declined ever since. It was once known as the Queen City, and although the name has changed, people still refer to it as that today. The place we're going to learn about is Olyphant, Pennsylvania. But before we do that, we're going to explore a newer section of rail trail that was former D&H territory, and it borders this town. So if you're ready, come along with me. We're going to start off by riding a section of the Lackawanna River Heritage Trail. This is the Railroad Street Trailhead. This is a newer section that opened a few years ago. It's not very long, but it is unique because for starters, you enter passing through these abutment walls, which forms almost like a tunnel with a small train bridge going over it. Now, as I mentioned, this is former D&H territory, Delaware and Hudson Railroad. Today, it's used by Delaware-Lackawanna. But the area that this trail goes around and through was a mining site. There was a colliery and breaker site here, and also a power plant. Primarily, all of it's gone today, except for a few ruins, which we'll talk about later on. But we're gonna see a lot of coal piles, silt, and some scars from those old mining days. We're also gonna check out a really cool train bridge, and after that, we'll be entering the town of Olyphant, Pennsylvania to learn more about it and see what it's like today. So let's hop aboard and do some riding. Here we go. We'll start our little rail trail adventure. If we get lucky, we'll catch a train today too. We're gonna see these tracks more than once. So just keep in mind, prior to this paved trail, this was all mining ruins back here. I'll actually show you an old picture of what the site used to look like. There was a pretty big bustling area with a big breaker, numerous rail lines for the coal cars, and looks much different today, but in the middle, off to our left, is basically where everything was located. So we're gonna find a lot of Coleman silt, and there is some ruins back there too of, I believe, a power plant, which we're gonna talk about as part of the Olyphant history. There also was a bridge over here back in the day too, which they removed when they made this rail trail that crossed over the river. And that same bridge was seen in that old black and white photo, so it would have been up here in this area off to our right. Never got here to do a video before they changed it. Wish I did, but like I said, nothing lasts forever. Things do change, but at least this is still a trail riding through a piece of mining history that also involves the railroad, D&H. You can see straight ahead, we got a train bridge. And it's not one, it's two. We'll take a little pit stop, check it out. So here we are next to the tracks once again. Like I mentioned, D&H territory, and we have a pair of D&H bridges. 1904, 1906. Surprisingly enough, the older bridge is the one that's still active. The 1906 newer one is out of service. This is a really neat area to come to for some rail fanning on either this side or the other side, because not only does Delaware-Lackawanna come through with their freight trains, but Steamtown comes through for certain occasions too, like the Santa train, when they visit the different stations and neighborhoods from, I believe, between Scranton and Carbondale, if I'm not mistaken. So depending on the occasion and time of year, you could possibly catch some steam action, but most definitely diesel. It's pretty neat, the rails are just coming off, hovering in midair. Rails are still in place, at least one set of them. There was another set next to them, so two lines came through this bridge, and we'll find out if there was two on the other one as well, but essentially it could have been definitely three, if not four lines between these two bridges here. That tells you how busy this line was back in the day. But it's an old one. All the old rivets. I do like how that is stamped out up there, and you can see the sky through the dots or the holes. I actually photographed this bridge too on my second channel, JP Photography. I did a photo walk of this rail trail section and got plenty of great photos of this bridge area up here. And it appears there may have been a second line next to it. So I think 2 lines here, 2 lines there, up to 4 lines came through here at one time. And there's actually an old station back there too, which we're going to ride to later on. But that is the town of Olyphant that we're looking at right now. But we're going to get back down to the trail, and the trail is actually going to take us beneath this bridge, and I'll explain why I couldn't continue on my first pass through. So down here, the trail turns to concrete, and it curves around at a sharp bend underneath the bridges, which gives you a nice perspective and vantage point. But as you can see, we are pretty close to the grade or level of the river. Well, when I rode this trail for the first time after it first opened is around this time of year, around March or April, and we had a lot of spring showers and some melting snow. The river was actually up so high that it was under a few feet of water right here. I could not pass through. So without the risk of getting swept away, not knowing how deep the water was, I had to turn around and go back. But this area has been known to flood under obviously the right conditions. So that's something to be aware of if you're coming here. But today it's wiped out down here, or I should say washed out. Okay, so this is some of the after effects. So this is what I was talking about. The water was higher recently and it has all this mud up here. So we're gonna go around it, we're gonna keep going, but this is the prime example of what I was talking about. You can encounter certain unfavorable conditions during the right or wrong time of year, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, you're really close to the water, but after that, you do rise in elevation. So that's the lowest point. And now we're on the other side of the rails. And this is gonna take us for a loop around. And we should be entering into the town of Olyphant shortly. And now we're entering more civilization. Got a shopping plaza off to our left. And the trail's gonna be ending just up here. And we're gonna be crossing over a bridge over the river, which will essentially take us into the downtown area. But before we do that, there's something off to our left I do want to show you that plays a part with ships. I'll just leave it at that. We'll be there in just a moment. So just up here at this fork intersection here, look at this massive anchor. This is one of the more prominent landmarks when you are coming to Olyphant. It is the big anchor. Can't miss it. It says Captain Johnston Blakely. This anchor is preserved here as a memorial to Captain Johnston Blakely, captain of the sloop of war Wasp during the War of 1812. Captain Blakely was born in October 1781 after a courageous naval career was lost at sea in October 1814. The borough of Blakely was named in his honor. The anchor in his memory was taken from the aircraft carrier USS Wasp, a valiant ship serving our country during World War II. Its anchor was erected in 1976 under the auspices of a Pearson Herd Post 236 American Legion. I can't read the rest of it. So, pretty awesome landmark. Pays homage to our naval history and a war hero back in the day. Welcome to the borough of Olyphant, established 1877. We're going to switch to my other camera. We're going to check out some of the buildings here, some of the businesses, and also learn a bit of the history of the Queen City. I want to start coming back here on, I think it says Hull Avenue, because there was a building property back here that I've always been wanting to explore because it looked abandoned, but every time I came by it, there's always some type of activity going on with it. And now it is completely gone. They tore it down. So I guess I missed my opportunity, or the opportunity was just never there. But it was situated right here. And it was a multi-building location. And it always made me wonder what was inside, what was it used for? And you can actually see some of the foundations of it right here. So stretched all the way over here. It is a good sized property. Now I'm going to take you to a location that I filmed years ago as an abandoned exploration. Those of you who've been with my channel for a long time probably remember that I filmed an abandoned funeral home. And it took me more than one occasion to get there to do it because we were spooked out by someone potentially inside. And I also got the crap scared out of me by a cat inside as well. But that was one of the more memorable abandoned places I filmed. And it was in this town, and I'm gonna show you exactly where it used to be because it's no longer there. See a nice church in the background there. Regal Room, popular business here in downtown. And let's see, where do we need to go? We'll come back to this area. I want to show you where the funeral home used to be, which I believe is right up here past Family Dollar. Yep, right here. This is now a car lot. The house used to be right back there. Good sized funeral home. There was a garage in back, and it sat abandoned for a number of years. It was eventually purchased and they demolished it, and now it's part of the car lot property. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it down below. 1907, Luigi's Pizza. And in case you're curious about the name of the street that we're riding on, this is Lackawanna Ave. And yes, there is a Lackawanna Ave in downtown Scranton, but there's also one here in Olyphant. And just wanted to take a moment to admire some of the architecture on some of these buildings here. Really ornate designs. On this side now, this looks like an old theater where the marquee would be right there. It may not have been at one time. Now it's a vacant building that's for rent, but if you guys happen to know, was that a former theater? Oh, here's something that's recently torn down. It was next to the theater. Open pit now. If you look at this building, you see where windows used to be. They're all sealed off. That is the Raymond Henry Post 327. Gorgeous building. You see the church behind it as well. We saw that, I believe, earlier. We'll take it right back there through some of the neighborhood areas. And downtown has a lot of businesses within walking distance, and we're going to cover the history in just a moment, but I just wanted to show you just a little preview as what this place does have to offer. And as I mentioned in my intro, some businesses and many people still refer to it as the Queen City today. That spot right there. Actually, we're going to go, I have the perfect spot for us to sit and take a break and talk the history of the Queen City, which also is going to pay homage to more rail history. There we are at the Queen City Station. Perfect place for us to stop and take a break and talk some history. Is that postcard worthy or what? Quite the shot. And just for reference, we're now on the other side of the train bridges. They're right there. So that shows you where we came from to where we are now. Beautiful day out today. So like usual, I do have my cheat sheet with me with all my facts and information, which is going to help us understand and learn why the city does exist and why I chose to come here to cover it. So Olyphant, PA is located in Lackawanna County, roughly 6 miles from Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's known for its coal mining past, and it was a major center for anthracite coal and other industries like blasting powder, cigars, and silk manufacturing. The area saw its first cabin built in 1798, but the borough was incorporated in 1877 and is named after George Talbot Olyphant, who was president of the Delaware and Hudson Canal Company. It became known as the Queen City and was a significant coal mining mecca with local mines driving the economy, and it was the headquarters of the Lackawanna Coal Company. On January 2nd, 1903, a massive mine cave-in at the Eddy Creek Colliery caused a section of the town to collapse into the workings below. The subsidence destroyed several homes and a hotel, leaving a large crater, but remarkably, no fatalities were reported. President Theodore Roosevelt visited Olyphant in 1910 to discuss mining issues, and is also noted as the birthplace of the first woman to enlist in the U.S. Navy. Now, the town was most populated between 1910 and 1940, but the town experienced a significant downturn in the 1950s after many of the mines have closed. But it retained a small town feel with many businesses within walking distance. And today, the population is around 5,000. And this is what we touched base on before. At one time, Olyphant had its own power plant that generated electricity for the town. And some of those ruins are still visible today. And that power plant was located near the Colliery breaker site, which we rode by during our rail trail adventure. I actually had to go back and check my footage on my other camera because when we stopped at the anchor, I was reading that, but not realizing that was for the town of Blakely. I've always known that as the Olyphant anchor. That's a whole separate town. The bridge and the river separates the two towns. So Blakely is the anchor, Olyphant is where we are. So not to confuse you, because I did confuse myself. But now we know a bit more about this town as to how it started, why it started, who it was named after, and that it was booming back in the day, but it's been on the decline pretty much ever since. But it's still a really well-known, popular town, has a much better reputation than some of the other towns in the area. And as we saw, mostly everything is within walking distance. So let's check out the station, check out a few more things in the area, and see what else the town of Olyphant, formerly known as the Queen City, has to offer. Here's a question for you. What do you get when you combine a Mako Shark and an e-bike? Do you give up? You get nothing other than a shark-inspired e-bike called the Shark Mako. This bike stands apart from the rest when it comes to styling. We're going to take some time to learn about today's mode of transportation, but if you'd like to continue on with today's adventure, just go to the timestamp on the screen. This is the HX Q5 e-bike, or better known as the Shark Mako. As you can see, it's a unique looking bike. This definitely has some shark-inspired styling, and believe it or not, there's actually a battery inside this frame, which we'll talk about. So, for starters, powering this bike is a 48 volt, 20 amp hour battery, which does power a rear 750 watt hub motor that peaks out at 1500 watts. This weighs in at a surprisingly light 61 pounds, so pretty light for an e-bike, but has a massive payload capacity of 400 pounds. Estimated range is 75 miles on a full charge. That is dependent on the rider's size, terrain, and pedal assist use. Rear wheel usage, probably between 40 to 50 miles. It has a pretty impressive top speed of 37 miles per hour on throttle, and this rides on 27.5 by 2.25 inch tires, and stopping power is hydraulic disc brakes. Now, like I said, there is a battery inside this frame. You may be wondering how to remove it. Well, first off, if you don't want to remove it, there is a charging port right down here, so you can charge it while it's still in the bike. But if you want to lock up the bike, take the battery with you and charge it, there is a battery cover here, and you use the keys that do come with it. Excuse me, I'm filming here. So you remove this battery cover. There is a knob inside that you turn counterclockwise to loosen. The knob comes out, and there is a power port that unplugs from the battery. When you do those steps, the battery comes out, has a carry strap, and the battery is shaped just like this frame, which is really unique. I've never seen a battery of that style and that fits so nicely within this shark-inspired themed e-bike. For your controls, we have a few buttons here. So we have a 3-button control module. M is your mode and power button, so you do long press to power it on. Up and down is your pedal assist modes. You have a dedicated horn button and dedicated headlight button. Right hand side is your 7-speed Shimano gear system, and this actually has a full twist throttle, just like a motorcycle. Absolutely love that. Coming around the front, we do have nice cable management, a small but adequate headlight, front fork suspension. Another feature I love is that this has a quick release axle, so all you do is fold that down, twist off the end. You can have this tire popped off within 30 seconds without any tools. Now, this bike did come with fenders, but I opted not to put them on for a specific reason, which I'll talk about later during pros and cons. So the back of the bike is pretty empty, not a whole lot going on back here. There's no turn signals, tail light, or brake light. Just got a reflector under your seat post and your seat, which I will give a 3.5 out of 5 rating. It's actually more comfortable than it looks. Now, aside from the unique styling, there's another unique feature on the front of the bike here. So right here appears to be gills on a fish or a shark. Those are actually accent lights or running lights. When this is powered on, these lights actually breathe or pulsate as if it's like a living, breathing creature. So they light up different colors, and you can actually change the color design through the sub-menu of the display, which is really neat. But on the front, what you would want to call the eye or nose of the bike or the shark, That's a running light. That lights up with a little LED light in there. So you have illumination here and illumination here, just as accent or running lights. But your main light source is still going to be your headlight. But if you do want to turn those off, you could do so through the submenu. So to power on the bike, you're going to long press the M or mode button. The display boots up. It may look like it's flickering or pulsating on the screen. It's not doing that in person though. But one of the cons I could tell you right off the bat, the display is pretty dim or dark. I couldn't find any brightness settings, and if there are, they're already maxed out. So it's hard to see in direct sunlight conditions. We're in the shade right now, partially. It's still pretty hard to see. But if you do see it, up in the corner is your battery gauge. So it has both bars and percentage, your miles per hour, your pedal assist, 1 through 5 will be right there, and your odometer, which you hit the M button, you could cycle through trip and voltage, time the bike's been on, and repeat back to the beginning. For the horn, pretty loud. And for the headlight. And one thing I noticed instantly is the power. This definitely has power compared to how much it weighs. This is a relatively light e-bike. It also has a cadence sensor, so the motor activates when you start pedaling, and the output is based on your pedal assist mode. So 1 being the slowest, least amount of power, 5 being the maximum, most amount of power. And if you're riding a long period of time, you want to give your feet a break, all you do is twist the throttle. Full twist, motorcycle style throttle. Now again, display is not great, but I'm able to see it at certain times, depending on the lighting conditions. We have a small incline here. I have it in pedal assist 3. I'm going to do just throttle only and see if it'll climb it without any pedaling or assistance from me. Again, acceleration is pretty good. Not super torquey, it's not going to throw you off, but the power is definitely there. That was a breeze, that wasn't even a challenge. And although these are not fat tires, they are still trail capable. No rear suspension, so the tail's a bit hard, but front suspension is pretty good. Let's see if we could make out this little incline here with just throttle only. Yep, I mean, it's not flying up it, but it made it. So I have to correct it. It is only 4 pedal assist modes, which seems more than enough for this bike. Now that we know how the bike performs and what it has to offer as far as specs and features, let me tell you briefly about the pros and cons. Start with the cons, which I mentioned one already, is the display. The display is far too dim. It needs to be much brighter, especially in sunny conditions like this. The other con is the fenders. I mentioned it does come with fenders. I installed them, took it for a test ride, and I wasn't happy with them. Over bumps and bounces, the fenders were flopping around. There's no rigidity or stability for them. They're just mounted in one area and just too floppy, too flexible. I felt it was better without them. So as long as you're not going through muddy or wet conditions, fenders I feel aren't really needed, but it is worth mentioning that they did come with the bike. For the pros, great power to weight ratio, weighing only at 61 pounds and having a 750 watt motor that peaks out at 1500 watts, and it does get up to 37 miles an hour. That's more power than you would need for everyday riding. Aside from that, this looks different than any other e-bike on the market. Styling is fantastic. I love the accent breathing lights, and that has a full twist throttle. It's just a really simple, easy bike to ride, to transport with a quick release axle. So I feel if you're commuting or doing some leisure riding and you want to stand out with a unique looking bike, definitely consider the Shark Mako. It's also worth knowing that this company is currently running a spring sale on this e-bike, so the price is lower than usual, and there should be a discount code for you as well. So if you check my description, all the details will be right down there. But I do want to thank the folks over at HX e-bike for sending me out the Shark Mako and be able to share it with all of you. And hopefully by now, you know if this is possibly the right bike for you. Now, back to our video. Without a doubt, this is a great place for rail fanning. If you got a nice telephoto lens or a zoom camera, you can film the train coming through the bridge there. You got the crossing gates here, the lights and bells. You got beautiful backdrop from this side with the clock, the station, the flagpole, that Victorian looking building right there. So really photogenic. I don't know if we're going to catch any trains today. If we do, it'll be a bonus, but at the very least, this is one of the popular spots when Steamtown does come through here on its way to Carbondale. Yeah, honest to God, I didn't even need a cheat sheet. Everything's right here. Named after George Talbot, Olyphant, president of D&H Canal Company from 1858 to 1869. So you can see the breaker site there and the double bridge and some of the mine lokies work in the area. So if you do stop here, definitely check this out. 6 miles northeast of Scranton. Great information board to help you kind of understand why this town does exist. Kind of tempted to sit here and see if a train does come. It'd be quite the location to catch it, because D&L could come through here pretty much any day of the week and any time of day. So I think we'll circle back here later on and we'll keep our ears on high alert for any diesel action or horn action coming from the distance. You could also see the train tracks, really long straightaway here. You could almost pace a train if you wanted to. Let's hang a left, head into the neighborhoods, and look at that building right there. It's like the big rotunda up on top. That is one heck of a church. Looks like maybe Latin. It says, Emptus ergo doceti omnis gentis. Seems like a decent neighborhood area. Another church up here. So churches are really prominent in the Queen City. But unfortunately, right across from the church, someone lost their home. This might not be a church anymore. This might be someone's private residence. That was built in 1899 though, First Presbyterian Church. I think that's a private residence or a business. But keep count of the churches from what we've seen, because there's another one right here. Almost every corner around here has a church. This one is Welsh Baptist Church. This looks like an old school. Today it's Lackawanna Heritage Apartments. That resembles, I think, a school. That's what it looks like anyways. I could be wrong. Has that, no pun intended, old school vibe. Okay, that church stands out to me. Look at the colors on those domes up there. Nice vibrant blue. And there's another church behind it. So we have two of them right there. And as we keep coming down, there's another one right down here in front of us. This might be the town with the most churches I've ever seen. This one is a Greek Catholic church, built 1908. And this is right next to the church. This looks like maybe an old Catholic school, possibly. And what do you know it? Two more churches. This is starting to be a church tour rather than a town tour. Look at this one. It's like something out of Indiana Jones' The Last Crusade. Maybe the insides of these are stunning, as most of them are. This one, is this a church? Maybe not. Maybe I jumped the gun on that. Might be a city, yeah, it's a city hall. And they have borough with a V, B-O-R-O-V-G-H. Right behind City Hall, they have a little memorial site here for Army, Marine, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. And nice statue with the flag behind it, some benches to sit on. How you doing? Circling back by the tracks, just in case. Well, if I can't catch a train, I'll have to be one myself. That's a loud horn. Right there is Excelsior House Company #1. And there's that building which I call Victorian, which may or may not be. It's the first thing that came to mind, but it's got some nice pastel colors. If you couldn't already tell, this is a pretty busy street, day or night. Now, I don't know about all of you, but I definitely love these small towns where it has a small town feel, where it's kind of quaint and cozy and everything's within walking distance. And also, most of the businesses are open. It's not like a forgotten lost town where everything's closed up shop and moved on. So this definitely has a great feel and vibe to it. Even though population declined in the last 50 years, it's still a great place to visit for numerous occasions. If you do come up past the train tracks and station area, still surviving, old convenient food mart. And if you do go in this direction, it'll take you towards Troop and Dunmore. If I'm not mistaken, those of you from the area may be able to confirm or correct me. I used to deliver spring water in the town of Olyphant. And I was in one of these businesses here back in the day, and it's a dress shop. They had a lot of gowns and dresses. I don't remember if it was the theater building or the dog groomer salon or if it was somewhere else, but there was a dress shop here in town. I remember I used to go through the back to deliver their spring water, their 5-gallon jugs of water. So if you could tell me which building it is, or if it's not here, where it used to be, because I don't see it today, but I distinctly remember delivering to a dress shop right here on Lackawanna Ave. I have to say, that was a fun little adventure. So that was my look at Olyphant, Pennsylvania, also known as the Queen City. A town that was booming and bustling at the time, had a lot of mining and rail history tied to it. And although it's declined over time, it's still a popular town, great small town feel, and has a lot of history tied to it with anthracite mining, a mine disaster, even some D&H railroad history. So an abundance of history, plenty of shops and dining and walkable locations, and even very e-bike friendly. This truck Mako definitely made it a heck of a lot easier to do this video because we covered the rail trail, covered the town of Olyphant, and we were able to cover a lot of ground very efficiently and easily. This is a very throttle friendly e-bike. I was doing mostly twist throttle the entire time just because it's easier to film that way. And did you count how many churches there were? Hope so, because I'm going to put the number on the screen as to how many I counted. See if you got them right. Otherwise, would love to hear your thoughts on anything you saw in today's video. I want to thank you so very much for coming along, checking out this location, checking out this e-bike, and hearing my thoughts on today's adventure. Take care, everyone, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video.